Okay, so you can begin however you would like to. If you're fine sitting up, just sit up. If you find you'd be much more comfortable in child's pose or lying down on your back, that's okay. But otherwise, you might just sit with your hands resting on the lap. When we start moving, we're going to move from here. So you can roll your shoulders around a couple of times. Have a couple of slow breaths. They don't have to be deep unless that's what you're craving. And notice if you feel very tangled up in the thoughts, if you feel very much like you're describing your situation to yourself and almost following through with your conclusions. I speak so much about how what we think affects what we feel and what we feel affects what we think. But let's really pinpoint now how the story, the thoughts are affecting what's going on, what you're feeling, whether you like where you're at or not. Whether you call it pleasant or not. Of course, in the yogic philosophy, we can call it. The attempt is to kind of go below concepts like good and bad, to really recognize that all of the words are just symbols and their meaning affects so much, again, what we feel, what we conclude. But we do have the option, and this is a habit, this is something that you have to work at, but we do have the option of deciding not to give them meaning sometimes, if we want. So we're going to start to move soon. We're going to go to the breath in a moment, but before we do, give yourself permission to completely dismiss thought. And when you start thinking about the reasons not to do that, or even the reasons to do that, dismiss that too. And what comes after. Importantly, if it seems as though there's an emotion kind of being tied to it, whatever story you're on, very kindly and very gently dismiss again. Just step back. So we're not kind of shoving things down or ignoring them. We're allowing them to move through without holding on. So what you are thinking now and what you will be thinking in a moment, give it none of your energy. And go to the breath. Allow the breath to be very sweet and easy. And then start letting your head just roll gently side to side so you feel a really mild, you don't let the whole weight of the head fall. You just feel a really mild and gentle stretch in parts of the neck. The breath is really easy. Any story that comes up, just dismiss it. It has none of your time at all for the next 20 minutes. You're just here with your breath. Really lightly moving the head again. So we're not letting the weight of the head drop down completely so that we don't strain the neck. And maybe you start making full circles, like there was a paintbrush on the top of your head. Make a couple of those circles in the other direction. Just the breath. All that is right now is the breath. And this gentle moving in the body. And if you haven't already set up, I'm assuming you have, but if you haven't, let your hands come up off of the floor. And as you continue to let your head drop side to side, start moving your hands around some. You might just make circles with your wrists. You might fan out your fingers some and notice what cracks and pops. No specific direction anymore on the way you need to move your head or even your hands, whatever feels really good. And when you're ready to let your eyes open, bring your palms together, interlace your fingers. And when you're ready, lift your elbows up, take a breath in, and when you breathe out, just reach your hands forward. So the palms are forward. And you might take the heel of your left hand and just push it even further forward. And then go ahead and come on back. And then take the heel of your right hand and push it even further forward. So your right elbow and shoulder go forward too, and then come on back. Readjust your fingers if they're slipping apart. Take your left heel of the hand forward, feeling your right fingertips press up against the back of the hand and back, and then push your right hand forward and back. And let's reach the hands up towards the ceiling. And whenever those symbols, those words come up as they're wont to do, as they should do, it's totally fine, but you are giving them not a thing, not an ounce of your attention or time or energy. Your attention goes into how it feels in your neck and your shoulders and your hands to reach the thumb side of the hands closer to the ceiling. And then when you're exhaling next, really lightly bring your arms down in front of you and grab onto your left wrist and hand with your right hand and just give it a squeeze, like you're massaging it. Notice your breath. And you can rub the hand or the wrist however you want to with your thumb and your fingers. You can bring your thumb into the palm of your hand and give a little massage there too. Notice your breath. Imagine all you are right now, all that exists right now is this really easy breathing. And let's switch. Let's massage out the right wrist with the left hand and fingers. You can work your way down the forearm or up closer to your hand. You can just sit here and squeeze. If you don't want to make it complicated, just squeeze your wrist with your fingers. Massage out the palm if you want to. Notice your breath. And then when you're ready, take your hands and just kind of drop them down in front of you. So your fingertips point to the floor and your elbows are up. So you're going to take your left hand with your right. You're going to hold on to the back of your left hand with your right hand. You're just going to gently push it down a little. And have a breath here. And then with your right fingertips dropping down to the floor, you're going to hold on to the back of your right hand with your left hand, just gently, like you're pushing your hand closer to your forearm. Just have a breath there. And then make another couple giant circles with your wrists. Move and stretch out your fingers a whole bunch. You can make these circles in the other direction. Move with the deepest range of motion you can. Make them kind of extravagant. You're really trying to turn your fingers, your wrists, every degree of motion that they can reach. And then let's come on to hands and knees. And when we do, walk your knees back some. Find your breath. This can be a little all body with a lot of attention on the wrist, of course. Take your hips towards your heels. And dismiss all the stuff but the breath. the feel of the breath. And then inhale, shift your weight forward so the shoulders come over the wrists. And then take the eyes of the elbows, so the side opposite the bone, and spin them forward to face the front of your mat. And then take your shoulders over your fingertips some. So the shoulders are over the fingertips, not the wrists. And then take your hips back some. Tuck the toes. Inhale, shift forward, shoulders come over the wrists. And then maybe you shift even further forward and the shoulders come over the fingertips or even the floor beyond them. And then take your hips back. We're gonna do it twice more, a little faster. So you'll just inhale forward on your own, take your time, and exhale back. And then when you're ready to, stay back. Turn your fingers so that your thumbs point to the front of your mat. You can walk your hands back. And we're just gonna lean over into the right hand a little bit. So the right shoulder goes over the right fingers. And then other side, lean over into your left hand a little bit, left shoulder over the left fingers. You can have your hands as close to each other as you want, your knees as far apart as you want to make balancing easier. You just lean to the right and lean to the left. Maybe nudge your hands a little closer to each other. Thumbs are still pointing forward, the fingers are pointing to the sides of the mat, lean to the right. To the left. Back to center, turn your fingers to face your knees. And when you're ready to, you're just going to walk your knees back a tiny bit. Keep the heels of the hands on the ground. And breathe. You might close your eyes. Maybe take your shoulders back a tiny bit more. And then turn your hands to face forward. Lean very gently your hips back towards your heels like child's pose. Drop your head. Hold on to the floor of the toes. When you're ready, lift your hips, lift your knees, downward dog. Inhale, bring your weight forward into your hands. Maybe the shoulders come over the fingertips and you take your heels forward. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, plank pose, shoulders forward, maybe heels forward. Exhale, either pull your heels back or go back into downward dog. So stay in plank or go into downward dog. Shoulders forward, plank pose. Shoulders back, plank pose with the shoulders back or downward dog. Shoulders forward and back. And forward and back. But when you're ready, hands and knees. Settle, nestle the wrists underneath the shoulders, bring your knees close to each other. And then when you're ready to, we're gonna make these big circles. So go ahead and take your hips, take your shoulders over to the left, and then forward and to the right, and back. One more in that direction. And then two in the other direction. And just imagine all that existed is your breath, sensations you feel in the body. Everything else you have permission to dismiss. And then go ahead and shift forward onto the belly. When you get there, come up onto the fingertips. So it's like you're squeezing your fingertips in, like there was a softball in each of your hands and you were trying to squish it with your fingertips. Inhale, lift your chest up some. And exhale, squeeze the floor with your fingertips. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Have another breath in and come on down. Exhale. Plant the heels of the hands to the floor. Inhale, hands and knees. Exhale. Come onto the fingertips again. Inhale, reach the right leg back. Exhale, take the right foot to the right thumb. When you're ready, interlace your fingers in front of you. Flip your palms to face the wall in front of you. And then lift your hands up. If you want to, lift your back knee up as well. Maybe lifting through the thumb side of the hands, you lift your hands even higher. Maybe find a bit of a back bend if you love the way that feels today. And then let's open out into warrior two with the right knee bent. And you're going to take your fingers and bring them to the heels of the hands. And then take your thumbs and just put them on top of the forefingers. Like you were squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. And that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to squeeze with your fingers. And then you're going to inhale, roll the thumb side of the hands to point back. Keep squeezing with your fingers. Keep making a fist. And then point your knuckles to the ceiling. Thumb sides point forward and down. Squeeze with your hands. Again, roll your thumbs up. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze with your hands and then back. And roll them down. And then back. Go ahead and release your hands. Release them behind the back. Straighten your front leg, turn the feet so they're parallel to each other. And then from there, take a breath in, fingers interlaced behind you. Exhale, just lift your hands away from your sacrum. Perfect. When you're ready to, see how your shoulders feel. Go ahead and on an exhale, perhaps fold. Give nothing your time but your breath. Release your hands just a little bit closer to your lower back, and then keeping your fingers interlaced, see if you can unlace your thumbs and then flip your hands so that the palms turn to face away from the body, and then lift your hands again. You might find some of your fingers starting to interlace. That's okay. Starting to unlace. And then when you're ready, release your hands towards your lower back and then down towards the floor. Turn your right foot to face the front of the mat. Walk your fingertips forward, lift your back heel, and then step the back foot forward and fold. Inhale, lift the back up, some gaze forward. Release your fingertips to the floor, step the right foot back. Interlace your fingers in front of you, maybe with the opposite fingers in front this time, and flip your palms to face forward as you lift your torso. And then start to lift the arms up. Lift through the thumb side of the hands, even if they're not interlaced. Maybe take your arms back, maybe lift your back knee. Find a hint of a back bend. Take all the time you want, but go out into warrior two with the left knee bent. And then bring your 4 fingers of each hand to curl in, or wrap your thumb up against your 4 fingers. And let's again turn the hands. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze like you were trying to crush something in your hand. Turn your thumbs down and then spin them the other way. You'll feel changes and things moving because of what's going on with the elbows and the shoulders as you really try to turn your hands, but mostly pay attention to your wrists. And then release your hands, interlace your fingers behind you. Now, this time, you're going to unlace your fingers, but keep the heels of the hands together and then bend the elbows so the hands travel up the back a little bit. Fingers can still point down. And when you're ready, take a breath in, push the heels of the hands together, and exhale, start folding forward just a little. See how your shoulders feel. When you're ready, lift your back up some, kind of letting the blood rush out of the head of it. And then lift the rest of the way on the next inhale. Good. So from standing up, you're going to do reverse prayer hands, but this time you're going to see if you can get your fingertips to actually face up. So you'll flip your palms. So you've got, and you might have to finagle, and that's okay. You've got your fingertips pointing up towards your neck. And then you're going to press the thumb side of the hands together. And when you're ready to, take a breath in, lift your chest up some, exhale, push the heels of the hands together. Keep pushing the heels of the hands together and fold a little bit. You might only fold a little bit. Now, if we were really trying to emphasize the shoulders here, I'd suggest keeping your hands really high up. But if you want to feel it a little bit more in your wrists, no matter how much you're folding, slide as you press your palms together, the heels of the hands a little bit closer to each other and a little bit closer to your sacrum. Push the hands together. And when you're ready, release your hands like they just opened up, slid down your back, and then came to the floor. Lift your back up just a little bit so you can walk over to your left foot, turn it to face forward, and then step your right foot forward too. And from here, let's go into Malasana. So lower your hips down. You can bring the palms together now in front of your chest and only have your hips as low as feels good on your joints. And breathe. As you're ready, release your tush all the way to the floor. Bring your hands to the floor behind you. Pretty close to you, pretty bent. And you're going to press the hands down, the heels of the hands down, the elbows bent, and just see what it feels like to lower your elbows towards the floor some, and then to straighten them a little. Lower them down some, and straighten them a little if you want. Walk your hands back some, or walk your hips forward some, a little bit farther away from your hands. Bend the elbows again. Straighten them again. Bend them again. Straighten them again, and then keeping your arms pretty straight. Grab onto the floor with your feet in front of you. Push into the floor with your fingertips with the heels of the hands and lift your hips up. And then from here, if you want to, you can slowly slide your knees closer to the space over your toes. And then maybe rock back a little bit so your shoulders go back in space some. Knees and shoulders and hips forward and back. And forward and back. If you dare, you can make some small circles. Couple in one direction. Hopefully you'll feel really good on the wrists at this point. Couple in the other direction. But eventually release the hips down. Release the lower back, mid back, and upper back down. Plant the feet to the floor and then lift your hips up into bridge pose. Interlace the fingers underneath the body if you can. You might press down with your wrists. 2 breaths here. Lift the hips. Lift the sternum, lift the chin. You can come down on an inhale or an exhale. And now from here, you're going to roll a little bit onto your left side and then take your right hand. Feel free to watch the screen if you need to see this. You're going to take your right hand and place it at your mid to upper back. So the back of the hand is on the body. And then you're going to release your back down onto your hand like you're resting, laying yourself onto your hand. Drop your knees over to the right. Turn your face to the left. And just let the weight, the entire weight of your body drop onto your right hand, stretching out the shoulder, massaging out the wrist a little bit. Bring the knees to center. Slide your right hand out from underneath you, then roll onto your right side and place your left hand, back of the left hand to the upper back, and then lay your back on your hand so the weight of your body massages out your wrist a little. Drop the knees to the left. Turn your face to the right, perhaps. And out of your twist. Take the hand out from underneath you and just bring your palms to face each other. So the elbows can be by the floor, on the floor by your side. Fan out the fingers. Let your knees drop in towards each other. Take the pinky sides of the hands and just move them down towards the floor. And like a super slow jazz hands. Then you're going to take the thumb side of the hands, move it down towards the wrist, towards the floor. A couple more times, just like that. Pinky side of the hands down. Spread out the fingers, thumb sides down. And then go ahead and move your wrist, move your fingers. Feel like you were trying to get your fingertips to touch the heels of the hands. And then you were trying to get them to touch the back of the hands, the elbows. Move to the biggest degree of motion you can. And then bring your palms together and rub them as fast as you can. Generate as much heat as you can. Don't think about it. As much heat as you can. Faster, 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 faster. And just place your palms over your eyes. And release the back of the hands on the floor by your side. And every single thing that comes up, dismiss it. This training, you're teaching the connections that you have, the easy paths, to get a little less easy, the ones that maybe will make you more likely to draw conclusions that don't help so much, and you're strengthening instead. You're getting better at instead. This ability to dismiss every single thing that doesn't serve you. And right now, to simplify it, we're making it every single thing, period. You have time now for nothing but peace, but space, but ease, now shift your hips over to the left, roll on to your right side. And when you do, interlace your fingers with your palms together and just rest your hands here. Just feeling the warmth of your hands. Then unlacing your fingers, take your left hand to the floor, push it into the floor to help you come up to sit more easily. And then after you sit, rest the hands palm up on the legs. Rest the eyes, the eyelids go still. And for a little bit longer, all of the stuff you dismiss. You let everything that needs to come in and you let every single thing go. Everything, every word. And slide the hands behind you. Hold on to your left wrist with your right hand. Give it a little squeeze. Breathe in and then fold forward. Thank you very much.